Welcome to Stranded Thoughts, a shorter thread in Anne's Norwegian knitting podcast. Each week, I'll share a small moment, a Norwegian word, a fun fact, or something from behind the stitches. Just a few minutes to pause, reflect, and connect. One float at a time. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another Stranded Thought. I am in the mountains this week. We rounded off the virtual retreat last weekend. This week I am recharging in the mountains. It's windy outside, so I am preparing to go outdoors, but I wanted to record this one first. And today I want to talk to something that comes up again and again. And during the retreat last week, one of my wonderful knitters inside my community, she's in there on a daily basis, said that she would happily pay good money for a course on how to fix mistakes in her knitting. And I cannot tell you how many times I hear that and how often I hear that. I hear it all the time. And I truly understand where that comes from. I really do. But I'm not going to create that course. And today I want to explain why. First of all, as I see it, mistakes are contextual. They will differ from person to person, from knitting piece to knitting piece. There is no such thing as the mistake. There is, however, this project, this yarn, this placement, this knitter, this moment. And if you knit, let's say that you knit one stitch in the wrong color in the middle front of a thick, high contrast sweater, you might decide to rip back. Or you might decide to make a duplicate stitch on top of it. Or you might decide to leave it. If you make the same exact mistake, if you make the exact same mistake under the sleeve when no one will see it, does it matter? Probably not. Probably not at all, right? So how am I supposed to create a course that tells you what to do? Because the answer is always, it depends. And that's not a very good curriculum structure, I tell you. And I know, I'm getting experience in this. But there's a second thing to this. Very often, what you call a mistake is not necessarily a mistake. I cannot tell you how many times someone has come to me and said, I've done something wrong. And I look at it and I say, no, not necessarily. You made a variation. Or, as we like to call it inside Anne's Norwegian knitting, no, that's a design feature. Or, no one will ever see that except you, right? So what are we really talking about here? Are we talking about embarrassment, some hidden fear of making mistakes, shame for making mistakes? Is it lack of confidence? Is it frustration over what you think is making mistakes? We are talking about the feeling that you should have known better, right? And I understand that too. But should you really have known better? Should you really? And creating a course about fixing mistakes would actually feed that fear of not knowing or mistakes, you should have known better. It reinforces the idea that you are constantly one step away from doing it wrong. That knitting is a minefield. That perfection is a goal. And when you're on the inside of my world, you know that perfection is not a goal. Because what is perfect is the only thing that's perfect is the perfect circle. And for those who believe in a higher power, that might be perfection. You might have heard it, but in Norway, they did embroidery hundreds of years ago, and they intentionally added mistakes because God was the only one that was perfect. You see the same in the Middle East when they do these beautiful carpets where the Allah is the only one perfect, and they add a mistake on purpose. You see the same with the indigenous people around the world, the ones in North America, where they did the same. Their deity was perfection, so they added mistakes in their craft as well. It's the way it is. And in my world, we are not we're not aiming. In my world, perfection is not something that we're aiming. We are aiming progress. We're aiming to learn more, to move forward, and to create beautiful pieces with or without our individual variations. And what you might classify as a mistake, I would never classify as a mistake. Having said that, some mistakes do need to be fixed. If your stitch count is completely off and your garment will not fit, yes, that matters. And if your color dominance is wrong and the pattern disappears, that might matter as well. Some people might not worry about that, others will. But even then, the question is not how do I fix it? The real question is, does this matter in this context? And that answer is different for every single knitter. What I see happening inside my courses and communities is something much more powerful than mistakes fixing. I see knitters slowly letting go of the desperate need to never deviate from patterns, that rigid feeling of I have to follow every instruction perfectly or I fail. Seriously, that's exhausting. And honest, it steals joy. When you're around other knitters, when you ask questions, when you see different ways of doing the same thing, something shifts. You realize that there are options. There are so many correct answers to that one question that you have. You can rip back. You can duplicate a stitch. You can leave it. You can adjust it, or you can even embrace it. And you get to choose. That is the real skill. Not memorizing every possible repair technique in advance, because here is the truth. There are so many possible mistakes as there are knitters. How would I even cover that in a course? It's virtually impossible. That course would be incomplete or overwhelming, and either or is not something you want. Either of those does not build confidence in you, which is my goal. If you're on the inside of my world, you know that is my goal. Knitting is human. Humans make mistakes. In fact, the world moves forward because of mistakes. Penicillin was discovered, for goodness sake, because of a mistake. Innovation happens because something didn't go as planned. So why are we so afraid of a misplayed stitch? Why do we treat it like moral failure? If you're embarrassed or have frustration, If you're feeling embarrassment or frustration or that quiet shame that many of us carry around, I should know this by now. I see you, okay? And I hear you. But fixing every possible mistake is not the solution. Becoming more confident in your judgment, however, is. Learning when something truly matters and when it does not, that changes everything. And that kind of growth does not come from a static program. It comes from knitting, from experience, from asking questions. Never be afraid of asking questions. There are so many people that don't dare to ask questions. Ask questions and listen to other people asking questions, because there's so much good learning in listening to the answers to other people's questions. You have to be part of the conversation. And if you are, you will find your answers. And if you are, sometimes your problem will be solved before you even realize that you have that problem. Other times you will ask and you will get not one answer, but several answers. And then you choose. That is how you evolve, not only as a knitter, but as a person. This applies to not only the knitting world, but to everything. The goal is not to eliminate mistakes, but by changing your relationship to them and how to attack them, in a way. Sort them out. So, no, I will not create a course of fixing mistakes. And I do get why you want it, but that's not coming. Because I believe that real work is not in the fixing. It's in the confidence to say, this is good enough, this matters, this doesn't, I choose. And when you get there, that changes your knitting journey far more than any repair tutorial ever would. But as I said, ask the questions and we will help you. I think that's it for today, my little stranded thought. I am now going to get dressed up, go out in the wind, and get some serious fresh air. Until next time, knit some beautiful stitches. Thanks for spending this time with us here on Anne's Norwegian Knitting, conversations where knitting meets culture, heart, and history. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to share it with a fellow knitter or leave a note to let us know what you think. If you want to know more about Anne's Norwegian Knitting, go to annesnorwegianknitting.com and check it out. Until next time, may your stitches be steady, your yarn untangled, and your heart full. See you in the next episode.